What's up, good people? It's your boy Mark on another episode on Front and Center. You, hey man, I missed y'all. How y'all doing today? Y'all good? Y'all good? Good? You good? I appreciate you guys for tuning in to another episode on Front and Center. I got a good one for you guys, and I actually think it's funny because this actually ties into a story. I'm actually gonna tell a little bit about that, but we'll get into that later. Similar to how we did the previous week, I do not have a quote. I like this kind of phrase and something to help actually you can take and tell yourself on a consistent basis. So we're not going to do a quote this week, but I want to talk about something that relates to the topic. And again, this relates to a story that I'm going to tell. But the title of this video, as you can see, is I Didn't Get There by Accident. I didn't get there by accident. I didn't get here by accident. Whichever one you want to say, but I didn't get there by accident is the title of this video. And this kind of goes towards a story. But the thing I want you to take with you for the next 7-day period, if that is, there's a reason for everything. There's a reason for everything. And you'll understand a little bit more about that when I get into the story. So, without further ado, story time. All right, so a couple of days ago, I actually talked with one of my younger guys who, I keep in touch with. He's playing some sports, playing football, and he asked me about my experiences, whether it was coaching, but more specifically, the playing side of it as a player, like what stuff, drive me, how I was able to do this, or how I broke a record senior year, or, how I hurdled a person during a game and stuff, like just crazy questions, just trying to pick my brain about like, what was my workout regimen, how did I rehab, all that crazy stuff. And we're talking, we're getting into these deep, conversations, but also some funny stuff. But I broke down 3 different things that I really thought stood out in the conversation with him to kind of help, change his mindset and his approach and how he went about it. But also I think that can help you guys, whether you're an athlete or not. And just like I said, the title is I Didn't Get There by Accident. The first thing that I would like to point out through the conversation that I had with him was I had to work. I'm sure you guys saw that coming. I had to work. There was a lot of times where, I was put in a position that I felt like I needed, not had to, that I needed to work 10 times harder. It wasn't necessarily because, at first, it wasn't necessarily because I was trying to, prove this or prove that. It was more so because I felt as though I'm always my worst critic, and whether I do good or not, I'm always going to say, man, I could have done this, or man, I should have done that, or I can do this next time. Like I'm always finding something to nitpick at so that I continue to push myself to move forward. And a lot of that times, whether it was in the weight room, I was on the field watching things, whatever the case was, I was always, pushing myself and working 10 times harder to try to make sure that I got, to my goal, but also surpassed it. Like that was always the goal. Whatever the goal is, surpass it, like no matter what. And that was one thing I really, that stood out to me in the conversation to him. I state like, yo, you really have to put in the work. You got to work. I didn't get there by accident. I didn't do those crazy things in games by accident. I didn't, push myself to the limit to be able to withstand a full season of games and not worry about injury by accident. Like it was rehab. It was, extra time in the gym. It was extra film study. Those little things that, sometimes we don't think about, as far as going to practice an hour early to stretch, an hour of stretching. Like I'm sure there's people who do even longer than that, but like it was just the little stuff like that I had to use to separate myself. Again, not because I was trying to, prove anything or this, that, and the third, but because that was what needed to be done for me to be at my best, to be at, the top shape that I wanted to be the best player I thought I needed to be for the people around me, for my team. And like I said, I didn't get there by accident. The first thing was because I had to work. I had put in the work and I had to do everything necessary to get and perform the way I wanted to, the way I felt that I needed to. You know what I'm saying? The second thing within the story, we started to kind of go deeper into the coaching aspect of it. Like when I was specifically a coach, and I did some volunteer coaching with some younger guys in this travel league. But I also got into a little bit more the college portion coaching. When I was still at school, I coached the RBs there, my guys. But yeah, I mean, specifically with that, he was asking me how that was. You know, how was I able to transfer being a player in, you know, actually being in the game to stepping back and coaching somebody else to be at their best. I will say in that situation, it was a lot easier because the people I was with, I knew them. I knew them front to back. I was just literally just playing with them. I had just finished my last game, and right after that, that spring ball, I was coaching the RV, so I was familiar with everything. I knew the schemes already. I didn't have to take extra time, so it was a little bit different in that sense. But then even when I compare that to not knowing a scheme, not knowing the kids, not knowing the coaching staff, and going into doing like the volunteer coaching with the younger guys, you got different age level, attention span is a little bit different. So it was challenging. But the second point I will make is I had to listen and observe. I didn't get there by accident. I had to listen and observe. A lot of the things that I did as a player, I applied as a coach, whether it was mindset, but specifically, you know, listening and observing. There, my running back coach, Mark McMaster, GOAT, he taught me how to study film completely different than what I was doing originally, and it changed how I played the game. It changed how I looked at things. It changed how I approached everything on the field. And because of that, I was able to see what he showed me and apply that to the guys that I was now coaching, whether it was the college bulls or my young guys. And that changed how I approached everything because I was able to listen and observe and watch him. I was able to listen and observe other coaches, you know, whether it was, you know, my own time studying like NFL teams or college teams and looking up strategies or taking my time out to do different stuff like that, or talking to other running back coaches that I knew, or people that were at least other players that have really good experience with it or went to certain schools and, you know, different schemes. Like I was just listening and observing and taking everything in. You know, a lot of times people think that, you know, some things come a little bit easier to other people, but preferably, you know, for me, I like before I, you know, dive straight into something, I really want to understand, you know, the ins and outs of it. I really want to make sure that I understand, you know, front to back exactly what I'm getting into. Then I'm going full force into it because I don't want to, you know, I don't like making mistakes. I know we have to sometimes, but if I can avoid it, I'm definitely going to make sure I can. So I think the biggest thing I told him was, you know, ask questions, listen and observe, and make sure that you're taking everything possible in, because there will be a time where you got to put the study book away and actually apply it. You know, all that studying, and then you got to take the test. All that film study, all that practice, and then you got to play the game. So listen and observe. Take everything you can in, so that when the time comes, you can really apply it and it'll become muscle memory to you. So I thought that was key in my point and why I didn't get there by accident. Last thing that I told him that really stuck with me, that also stuck with him, that he also talked about too, was I had to fail. Yeah. I had to fail. I had to lose sometimes, whether it was personal battles, whether it was full-on team games, whether it was not hitting a set that I wanted to in the weight room, or not hitting a certain amount of reps on a max day when we were maxing out on squats or bench. You know, I had to fail. You know, I had to experience what it was like to not be able to help my team because of something I did. Not necessarily was, you know, my control, like an injury. And I wouldn't call that a failure, but still something like, you know, something that took me out of my element or my ability to perform my best. But I had to fail, and you're probably wondering, like, man, that's crazy, but it's pivotal. You know, you have to learn from your mistakes. Nobody is perfect. And there's going to be plenty of times where you're going to get into a setting or a situation, whether you're an athlete or not, that you're going to fail, that you're going to put your best foot forward and it's not going to work out in your favor. or it's not going to work out how you thought it was. Or you may finish and be like, man, I thought that was going to go a little bit differently. Or you may finish and accomplish, but not hit your goal that you want. You might come short of it, but still accomplish something in that sense. Like, there's going to come a time where you will fail. But that's okay. That's okay, because you can take those lessons, you can take those experiences and learn from them. Not just for you, but to then talk to other people about it and help them learn and help them, avoid those things as well. And I think it's probably the most important point that came out of that entire conversation that really stuck with me, because you don't think about those times. You don't want to think about those times. Like, nobody wants to fail. Nobody wants to lose. Nobody wants to be in a setting where they feel vulnerable, but you have to. You have to. And it's really, I think the biggest part about that I touched on was how you respond. How are you responding to failure? How are you taking the situation? Are you, you know what, I'm done. This ain't for me. This ain't for me. Like, nah, like, you gotta really understand that even though you will fail, you have the choice to get back up and try again. Plain and simple. So my biggest thing to you guys is take those 3 things. Put in the work. Find the ability, find some way somehow to listen and observe whatever the situation is, the people around you, experts in the craft, whatever it is. Listen, observe, and find ways to take things in so that you can apply that yourself. And then understand that it's okay to fail, because you still have the choice to continue and get back up again, learning from that experience to be better than ever the next time around. And again, we say this, I'm pretty sure I can go to every video and click it and see I said it at least once. You never know who's watching, man. You never know who's watching. And your trial, your challenge, your tribulation that you endure or go through can bless somebody immensely simply by how you respond. Not necessarily the outcome, what happened after, like what happens, the achievement that you get or the accomplishment after being, failing, but simply the choice to continue, simply the choice to keep going, simply the choice to move forward can bless somebody immensely, because there are people out there that are watching you. There are people out there that are waiting to see what your next move is, not because they're trying to tear you down, even though there are leeches out there, but because they're simply trying to see, I'm in this situation too, or man, that's similar to what I'm going through. Man, what if I have to go through that? Maybe I wonder how Mark's going to take this one. And they're sitting, they're watching, they're waiting to see how you respond. And say you come out of that thing and you know what? I got this. You're going to be okay. I can do this. I'm going to be all right. And I'm going to make it through this. And you got that mentality. You got that approach. You're pushing, you're clawing, and you make it. But they're not so worried about you making it. They just want to see that process of that choice, that flip, that pivot, to decide that I'm going to do this. I'm going to continue. I'm going to keep working. Yes, I failed. Yes, I didn't make it. Yes, it didn't turn out the way I wanted to. But I'm going to keep going. And that right there, I'm telling you, it's going to bless somebody. So remember that and pay attention. But guys, I really hope this blessed you, because it really blessed me. And I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. Show me something in the comments. Tell me what you think about it, the story, or even just a point that stood out to you a lot. I think, again, for me, it was that last one. But just let me know what you think. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you guys can stay tuned for everything that Front and Center does. But I love you guys. I love you, family. Make sure you tune in for the next episode, all right? Peace.